So, Blair, when you think of Wolf's Ridge Brewing, what do you think of?
Well, they're craft beer,
Yeah.
of course.
But did you know they also have an amazing cocktail program, craft cocktail program?
Well, actually, I did.
Well, it's your job to know. Yeah, they have an amazing craft cocktail program in addition to their brewing, which is pretty amazing.
And their food is amazing as well.
It is.
Welcome to If This Bar Could Talk, a podcast about bartenders and the stories they have to tell, as well as the storied history of cocktails, spirits, and bars. I'm Blair Beavers, and here's your host, Leanne Sims.
Our guest tonight is Chris Cini, bar manager, or at least that's what he calls himself, from Wolf's Ridge Brewing in Columbus, Ohio. Welcome to the show, Chris. Thanks for coming.
Yep, thank you.
So like we said in our intro, Wolf's Ridge has an amazing cocktail program. Thanks mostly to you, I think, but not entirely. I think there was a cocktail program before you, but you've definitely stepped up their cocktailing game. How long have you been there?
Year and a half or so. And I mean, you said exactly what I would have said is I kind of walked into a really strong foundation. The bones and everything were there. And they just kind of needed to elevate it. Their food is such a high elevated food program that they do there in the dining room specifically. So, they just needed to elevate the cocktails to kind of match that.
Because they had good cocktails, but they weren't memorable, I want to go back just for cocktails.
I from what I remember, the times that I had visited there, just as a guest, I remember they were good cocktails, but really simple kind of riffs on some classics or stuff like that. But just good. They were there for the other guests that weren't beer or wine drinkers. So it was like the 10% there, they could grab a cocktail and it was okay for them. And there was nothing wrong with that.
Right. They do have amazing food there.
Yep.
Their brunch is amazing. Well, actually, everything.
Well,
I don't
all
think
of
I've
it.
ever had anything
Yeah.
bad there.
All of it's good.
It's amazing, and
Right down to the fries. I mean, it's all good.
yeah. So who is it? It's independently owned, right?
The Suter family, Mary, Alan, and Bob, they started that a little over 6 years ago. The dining room was there first. I think the tap room came somewhere a year after, I think, something like that.
So they had a restaurant before they started brewing beer, or
They have a unique history, but no.
oh,
How they started is unique, and what they've done as a business. They're very business-oriented people. I think the restaurant itself really helped stabilize the brewing when they first got started, and having the food program that they have there kind of really kept things going for them, and is probably why they've been as successful for them. The restaurant and the beer alone it's crazy for them and to be where they are, because this is 6 years ago. This was probably right. I'm not from Columbus, so I can only imagine when they were here being where they are downtown, and before all these other 40 other breweries or whatever have opened up since then. So it's a unique program that they've done there.
is this their only location? Okay.
Yep.
Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Arizona.
Oh, okay.
I moved here from Florida.
Oh, and you thought, I want to freeze my ass off in the winters.
Yeah. So I left Arizona to go into the military. I was in the Air Force for 6 years, and I was stationed in the St. Louis area, right outside St. Louis, north on the Illinois side, 20 minutes. That's where I spent 6 solid years of my time. When I got out, I moved to Florida, where I lived for 5 years, I think. How I ended up here is my parents moved up here, retired. My dad retired. My mom wanted to be closer to some grandkids. 2 older brothers have lived up here for a long time. My grandparents have been up here forever. My mom was originally from Cincinnati, but she lived, her entire life in Arizona. So I have 5 other brothers.
Oh, wow.
So we're kind
So
of
do I.
all over the place. And
What a coincidence.
this was, I think, the only place that there was two of them somewhat near each other. And they were the 2 that had kids. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for your service. How did you get into bartending?
Ah, man, that's it. So most of my career was heavily in craft beer, actually, before I got really crazy into cocktails and stuff. When I got out of the military, moved to Florida, I was pipe fitting for the VA, which I did plumbing in the Air Force, so it was an easy job to get. I started picking up some home brewing stuff, and I thought that's kind of what I wanted to be involved with. I took my certified beer server from the Cicerone program before I was hoping that I could pass that, and then maybe that could help me get a job in the bar, because everyone always told me, if you want to start in a bar, you have to be a bar back, or you have to do this. And I was like, I don't want to do that. No one ever wants to do that.
Yeah.
I know that that's kind of like a rite of passage for a lot of people, and that's how a lot of people started out, as they were a busser or whatever. I was like, I don't want to do that. So one of the main World of Beers, I know I think one still in Easton up here. It's actually started in the Tampa Bay area. And I ended up getting a job at one of the smaller main corporate headquarters locations or whatever. Just kind of beer bartending at the time. I was actually hired as a server there, and a lot of people have similar stories where some guy called off on a Friday night, and I was like, I'll work that shift. And I just wanted to work, and I worked that shift behind the bar, and I had no clue what I was doing, but it was just pouring beer and wine, and that's very easy to do. And I think I've been behind the bar ever since then.
So what is it about the profession that attracted you?
I knew when I was plumber in the Air Force, I knew I wanted to do something different. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to do that anymore.
Okay.
So I was going to school full time in Florida. I was bounced around school stuff. I did IT stuff for a hot second. I didn't know what I wanted to do. The beer industry in particular, craft beer was really big down there. I remember going to a bar called the Ale and the Witch in St. Pete. It is one of the coolest craft beer bars that you can ever go to. The bartenders, the staff, everyone.
What's
there.
it called?
The Ale and the Witch. It's in St. Pete, right downtown. Yeah, they have really good live music there on the weekends. Their draft list was always really cool. It was a very unique thing for me, to try a beer and be I don't remember I don't know what this is, because when I was 21, I lived in St. Louis area. It was Budweiser and it was everywhere. And I think at the time that I was there, that would have been 2006 to 2011. I remember Schlafly's in St. Louis was the only, that's when they were still calling it micro pub or micro brewery. And that's all it was, And I remember having beer there and not knowing what that was, because it wasn't the same, shitty light beer that I've always had.
Right.
So having my first IPA or something like that, I was like, what is this? And I wanted to just dive into that. And that's what I did. I've had a bad problem where I do something once and then I just dive head first and I forget about all the other things that I was doing.
That's called focus. That's actually a good thing.
Yeah. It's helped me a lot of ways, I guess, because I've done that so many times to so many things that I feel like I'm somewhat well-versed in little things all the way around.
You're a jack of all trades.
A little bit, yeah. I actually am. I've had so many different jobs, I think, I'm 33, in the last 15 years. I've worked at department stores. I sold electronics at Best Buy. I worked at a screen printing shop where I helped screen print, and I worked their sewing machines and embroidery shop, bartending, serving. I worked for an oil company. I worked on semi-trucks. I've done all kinds of very interesting things.
You're a well-rounded guy.
Yeah.
So that probably lends itself well to being a bartender, because you can talk about anything.
Sure.
How did you transition from craft beer to craft cocktails?
That's a good question. So when I moved here, I didn't have any jobs lined up. I worked I'm going to throw some more jobs at you. When I first moved up here, Columbus is one of those places where you can get a job literally right now. If you don't have a job, you can go somewhere and get a job today, because there's so much going on here. There's warehouses everywhere that need help. And I immediately walked into FedEx. It was right around the holidays. I started working for them. I left them. I worked at the Lululemon warehouse for a couple months during the holidays. I walked like 10 miles a day, just picking yoga pants out of boxes. And I knew that BrewDog was coming here. I already knew that well before I ever moved here, because my parents actually lived 10 minutes away from the Canal Winchester location. I did a really cool interview with them, and I got hired at BrewDog. So that's a big deal for me. That was something that I wanted to be involved with when they first moved here to the States. And a month into working, it was a very chaotic month at that. It's now a hotel and restaurant, all kinds of stuff. It was just a restaurant at the time. None of the brewing stuff was there yet. None of the hotel stuff was there yet. It was just a restaurant. And a month in, I think we were just, the numbers that we were putting up sales-wise was insane. It kind of similar to what I did at Wolf's Ridge. I went to management at BrewDog and I said, hey, like there needs to be some sort of managerial or some sort of person behind the bar every day, because we're busy and we can't have, if we need, to void something out or whatever, we're doing $30,000 on a Friday and $30,000 on a Saturday, and there's tons of people there. I can't find, the managers don't need to deal with that stuff. I can do that. Somebody else can do that. So I just kind of was like, we need to have like a lead bartender or something like there. And they're like, oh, yeah. So they talked about it. And then I was pulled aside and, do you want the job? I was like, well, yeah, of course. I'm the one that told you that we should have that. Of course I want the job. So it was cool for me, but the same, because I knew so much about beer working in it for a couple years prior to that. I was home brewing. I had actually brewed for a really small brewery in Florida for a while. So the beer stuff I had down really easy. We had at BrewDog, when we first started, we had like the base essential base spirits. Like we had Watershed and stuff, and we had some Middle West stuff. We had Kraken rum, and like that was it. You know what I mean? But for me, I looked at that as like I was working with some other people who were not as experienced in craft beer, but had worked at bars, neighborhood bars or whatever, and they knew how to do stuff. They knew how to make shots or whatever, and they knew how to do, cocktail stuff. And I looked at that. I was like, well, if I'm gonna be this like lead bartender person, I have to like know more than they do. And the only way I'm gonna do this by reading. So I just started reading books and reading as much as I could.
What did you read first?
I think the first book was the first Death and Company book is what started that. And then I'm just reading books all the time now. So that was the transition for me. I was like, I wanted to learn more about spirits because I felt like I needed to know about them. Even though, like in BrewDog, especially out in Canal, it wasn't like a big calling for that stuff. It was just a personal thing for me.
Yeah.
And then once I got into that, and I started making cocktails at my house, I was like, I really like doing this. It was similar to brewing in the creative aspect, except there's no recognition for that. The brewers don't, the people making all the money are the people pouring beers. The creative process, so like as a bartender, you don't have any creative control over the beer, right? But when you're making a cocktail, it's completely up to you. And I have a bachelor's degree in graphic design, which I don't use, but the creative side of that, I think, is what like attracted me to making cocktails, was that creative kind of outlet to make something and then show something to someone else.
Very cool. So what is your creative process? How do you create your cocktail menu at Wolf's Ridge?
So there's myself, and right now there's 3 other bartenders back there. So there's some super small staff, which I like. We have barbacks that kind of rotate in and out. They're support people, so they work other jobs throughout the business. So the 4 bartenders that work in the dining room, we get together once a month, twice a month when we're getting ready, like R&D for a new menu.
That's got to be fun.
R&D can be fun, exhausting sometimes. I think this time we're trying to maybe approach that a little differently. But in the past, like we show up and we just start working on some stuff, and we all have different tastes. And that, I think, helps build a better cocktail for us.
Sure.
Because I like things maybe a little more acidic, whereas someone might like it a little more sweet, and we just tweak those specs just a little bit, and they work really well.
Okay.
That's just for the dining room. My job I also do the cocktails for the tap room, and I do the cocktails for the event space next door as well.
So you have the restaurant, then there's a bar there in the restaurant, and then if you go back the hallway, there's another completely separate bar.
Wolf's Ridge has 3 bars and like 3 kitchens in that one building.
Oh, wow.
So you could go there on a Friday night, and there could be a wedding in our event space, a packed house in the dining room for dinner, and then there's a Blue Jackets game. Like this Saturday is a great example. It's packed before the game in the tap room, so because it's like a super casual area in the back, super focused mostly on the beer. Kitchen's back there is a lot different than the dining room. They have burgers and sandwiches and wings, stuff like that. Super quick, super casual, and then you're off to the game. Whereas you may have like a really fancier dinner in the dining room.
So the small staff that you have at Wolf's Ridge, you kick around ideas on cocktails, and then you decide on a list. How often do you change out your cocktails? Is it seasonal or?
Right now it's been seasonal. I think the plan is for the next menu will be like a spring, summer menu. Just because the cocktails that we've been doing, the current menu that we have is super simple. We did some classics and some kind of riffs on some simple classics. It's actually been the easiest prep that I've, in the year and a half that I've been there, it's the easiest prep we've had so far. Because this winter menu is so short, and because of how long we put into making some of these drinks, I don't feel like it ever does any justice to do a cocktail for like 4 months or 3 months. And then we just immediately we're just constantly rushing to do another menu.
Yeah.
So the idea for this upcoming menu is to do like a spring, summer one, and we'll just switch it out every 6 months. We may switch a couple cocktails in the summer, but like whatever didn't sell really well, we can just switch them to something new, but still stay on the same theme that we've been doing.
Do you make any beer cocktails?
You know, we get, I get a lot of, can you make a beer cocktail from our sales reps a lot, because they want to sell that to someone at bars. I know that owners have come up to me a couple times and ask. There was one when I first started, except the beer changed, and then the issue is the consistency of not knowing what I'm going to have on tap sometimes. And if I'm going to have it on the menu, like in the tap room, for example, that's where they should definitely have a beer cocktail, because that's where all the beer people are. But their draft list changes so frequently, you can't like sub one IPA for the other IPA, because that doesn't work that way, because they're so different.
And they've got like, 40 taps
There's
back there?
20 taps back there. There's 20 taps in the Hickory room. There's another 12 in the dining room. So there's beer all over the place, but it changes all the time. It's always changing.
Okay.
So in the past, we did last winter, like the beer component of a drink was taking our Daybreak beer, which is the coffee and vanilla cream ale. It was actually the first tour I think that I did with you guys. It was at Old Fashioned Maker's Mark.
Yeah.
And I just turned that coffee vanilla cream ale beer into a syrup. So you still got that beer component into it, and the Daybreak was still on the menu, so it still sounded like something involving beer was in it. But it was consistent, and I knew I was always going to have it.
Right. I like that. I love it. I like beer cocktails. They're interesting and different. I think that'd be cool if you could figure that one out. So you said you make cocktails at home. What is your go-to cocktail at home? Do you have one?
It changes pretty frequently. Always old fashioned, Negroni, or daiquiri. Like it just depends on the mood.
Okay.
And the old fashioned is not necessarily whiskey based. It can be rum based or gin based. It's always something really simple at my house for myself. Okay. I do a lot of my own R&D at my house for the menu, because sometimes those sessions last a little longer and I don't want to drive in my car home because it's been a whole bunch of tiny sips of a bunch of different drinks.
Sure.
So doing that in my kitchen is a lot easier. My home bar is very nice. I actually probably have more bottles in my home bar than I do at my actual bar. So that's where a lot of my creative like work is actually done. But always old fashions, Negronis, or daiquiris for me.
Tell me your daiquiri recipe, because that's one of my favorites.
It's been changed. It's actually slightly changed, I think. Usually, rum could go either way. It could be a full 2 ounces of one, or I might split it with something funky or weird or an agricole rum. It doesn't matter to me as long as it's rum based. What had changed recently was I was doing a full ounce of lime juice and then only a half ounce of simple syrup because I like the acidity more.
I'm the same
That's
way.
how she is,
In fact,
yeah.
I don't even want simple. I'd rather just use like Luxardo or something like that.
Or Cointreau.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And that's perfect. Like as long as it's not super sweet,
Yeah.
it adds some body to it. But lately I have been actually adding that extra quarter ounce and doing 3/4 ounces of simple syrup just because I think it is actually more balanced that way. And it's more, if I make that for anyone, they're going to be like, yeah, this is good. Or if I make it my way, it may not come across that. It doesn't read that way because I don't know you, so if you ask for me for a daiquiri at the bar, I'm going to make it maybe with that extra simple syrup because it may be too acidic for you.
I remember you saying that on our last cocktail tour that you don't necessarily serve what you would drink because you don't like them as sweet as the masses, and of course you have to appeal to the masses.
The guest base that we have at Wolf's Ridge is pretty much the same, I think, day in and day out. And I can't remember what podcast that I was listening to, but the discussion came across, right? You don't make things you like because you're not going to sell any of them, right? As the bartender, because you have a taste that no one else has. You know, people don't take shots of Fernet unless you're a bartender, right?
That's true.
So like bartenders have their own taste, but the guests are the people that are buying the drinks,
Right.
and they're the ones that you have to like think about. So
Right.
even for me lately, it's been making drinks and like letting all the servers taste them during service and like just to see what they think.
Oh, yeah.
Because those are more people and expanding like as you're doing research, right? You just kind of expand that bubble.
I bet they don't mind.
Not at all. And then even doing that with a guest, like they may ask, like, "What is that? Oh, why don't you try it?" Like just to see what they think.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever need any guinea pigs, we're always available.
We always can use someone to try anything for sure. Because again, there's only 4 of us, right? And we all have our own thing. But
Right.
even once we decide on something, it's like, okay, we all like this. But maybe if we added just this, all the guests will like it, not just us, So
Right.
it's different.
Right. Well, you're going to make us a cocktail tonight. Is it something that's on your menu?
No,
No.
just a classic Mai Tai.
Classic Mai Tai. Yeah.
Okay.
Love me a Mai Tai. All right. I think this is a good time to take a break and make a cocktail.
Go.
All right. And we are back with a classic Mai Tai. Cheers.
Cheers.
So first you really smell the mint. And then the funky rum.
Yep. So the rums, back in when Trader Vic was making it, obviously was a crazy 15, 17-year-old Ray and Nephew rum. Trying to mimic that. This drink is such a crazy drink because it's one of like the classic tiki drinks. But if you were to Google that, right, you're gonna see drinks that are like red, that are orange, that are like black, floating on top of it. You've such a weird thing because the transition from tiki first started up till today, it's gone through a crazy up and down, right? And it's one of those drinks that's most people think of as like, this is like, I don't want a sweet drink. It's not a sweet drink. If you make it with the right rum and you put the right amount of juice in there and the right amount of orgeat or whatever syrup, it should be like a really dry, refreshing drink. And that's the way I think of it.
This is so good. I love Mai Tai.
So this one in particular, I used the Plantation Zamaka rum, 1.5 ounces for this drink. And I've never made it with these rums before, but I just know what they are. So the great thing about rum drinks in particular is I like to switch different things to see how they play with one another. Then we did a 1/2 ounce of Dr. Bird.
I've never heard of that.
They're out of Two James, out of Detroit.
Okay.
That rum is crazy. It's very intense. It's a Jamaican rum. They go and pick out barrels. They bring them back. They finish them in muscatel cask, and then they blend them together for the final product. It is really intense. So like think Smith and Cross, but like really funky.
Okay. Have you ever tried that Plantation OFTD?
I have definitely had OFTD. I actually had picked it up in Party Source before it was ever available here. It lasted me because it comes in a liter only. That stuff is great.
Yeah, it
Plantation's
will
good stuff.
knock me on my ass though. It's good.
It's yep. It's very, very good. It would work very well on this as well. I know it's a little darker, but you can switch the two out.
If you really want to get fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the rums, and then what else goes in it?
So for this one, I did for you guys the 2 rums. I did a split base or a split modifier for the 2 curaçaos. You could easily sub Cointreau or whatever you have. Grand Marnier works nicer. This is Pierre Ferrand's dry curaçao, which is probably something along the lines of he would have been using way back in the day. And I split it with Copper and King's Distillere, which is their orange curacao, which is really good stuff too. Both brandy based. The Pierre Ferrand's going to be brandy and cognac blend, and the Distillere is a apple brandy base. I just did a 1/4 ounce each of those, 3/4 ounce of lime juice, and then for this drink in particular, I did a 1/2 ounce of Liebherr and Company orgeat. But sometimes I'll split that orgeat also with like a vanilla demerara or something like that. It adds just a little bit nicer to the rum character, kind of brings out some different things. But just using orgeat is totally fine, and it actually works just as good as anything else. If you look at some of I think Martin Cate's recipe from Smuggler's Cove, they do like a split syrup as well. It's orgeat and demerara or something along those lines. But just using orgeat is totally fine.
Have you ever made your own orgeat?
No, I think I make a lot of stuff, right? We do a lot of stuff in house. I've always found that Liebherr and Company stuff is really good.
I want to try it sometime on its own because I've never had a pre-made orgeat before. I don't think.
So in particular, that one it's got kind of almost a grittier texture to it, which I like. It's not like the Giffard stuff. Supposedly it's also pronounced Giffard. I don't know if you know that.
No.
That's what the rep told me.
No.
I just say
Good to know.
Giffard because I think that's what we all think it's called anyways. But
We know what you're talking about.
all that is Goem syrup with almond extract in it. There's no like actual almonds in it. You most definitely can taste almonds in it. For me, that's a consistent product. And it's kind of like making your own bitters. I don't do that either.
Right.
Because there's so many great products already out there and they're consistent.
Yeah.
And I can worry about doing my other.
Sure.
Those little modified ingredients I can just get from someone else.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't want to make them, but they've already done all the legwork that I don't want to have to go
Right. So
through.
what's the point? Yeah. No, that's good to know.
It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
It is good stuff. It's a
I
really
love
good
how
cocktail.
and it seems like you've done this several times throughout your life, but you just nerd out over right now cocktails and learning everything you can about splitting the base and what that does to it. And I love that. I think that's just, it's what makes your bar so unique to me.
Right. It's again, like I really started reading. Like I don't have like a ton of mentors. Like if I do, they're people that I've never met. Like they're books that I've read or whatever, because I have not gotten to necessarily work with like someone that I can like really like learn a ton from. Right. I an opportunity. I thought, I don't know if you guys know this, but I was hired on at Curio. I left Brewdog originally because I was hired at Curio.
No, I didn't.
I did not know that.
And I thought that that was the opportunity that I needed to actually learn from some people that really knew what they were doing with cocktails, and then taking that information in outside of reading. There's nothing wrong with reading books.
Sure.
It's made me who I am, and it's how I've learned everything. But I think that reading for me has been something I never wanted to do. I hated reading in college.
I hate reading
I
too.
hate reading books. I just don't have time for them. I don't have patience for them.
Yeah.
But as soon as I read cocktail stuff, I just I don't even, time just flies by. And then I immediately go to work or I go to my kitchen. I just start cranking out shit that I just read just to see how it works. And that's kind of how I've always been with cocktails.
Cool.
Yeah.
So if you could choose anyone in the world as your mentor, who would it be?
Shoot.
Living or dead?
Living or dead? I mean, so I'm really big, obviously, into tiki stuff. I don't know where. I think I just started following, really getting into that stuff just before it got popular, really, really popular in the last year. Because it's for me, it's fun. It's not super serious and snobby Manhattan drinker. It's just a fun time, right? And
Yeah.
the point of it is to have a good time when you're drinking, and to not worry so much about anything else around you. I wish I could go back in time and reading the books about when tiki first started, and Don the Beachcomber and Trader Vic were doing that, and reading about all the celebrity Hollywood actors and stuff going into these places, and presidents, going into these bars and stuff it. For me, I would love to go back to that time period to see how that all worked out.
Fun.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I wish that Kahiki was here. I see photos of it, and I'm oh, that thing is
It was
so
amazing.
cool.
Yeah.
It just the photos of it, I can't even picture what it actually looked like the gravity of how big it was.
It was
Huge.
massive.
I know
Yeah.
it looks massive. The photos look massive. I seen some videos of it, and I'm just what are where why is that gone?
Yeah.
It's such a
It's kind of a
crazy thing.
shame. Yeah. It was a very cool place. Yeah. So how important is the ice?
Not necessarily important. I think crushed ice is very big in tiki drinks. Clear ice is 100% important to me in stirred cocktails, old fashions and stuff like that. We started doing that at Wolf's Ridge recently in the last few months. It's little things like that. I don't know that our everyday guests, other than they go, oh, this is really cool ice, they don't necessarily understand why it's clear, what being clear means, or what crushed ice does to drinks. For us, service, if I'm serving this on crushed ice, we just short shake it, maybe with a couple cubes, and serve it, because all the dilution ends right in the glass, right, where all that stuff is. If you're serving on a clear cube, that's important for those type of drinks, because it dilutes slower. It doesn't over dilute your drink. If you did a cube from your freezer, well, there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, ice is it's an ingredient in a cocktail, and it's very important depending on what type of drink you're making.
Yeah. And you got this particular ice at Sonic?
I go to Sonic all the time.
Awesome.
I don't even eat at Sonic. I mean, I don't eat there. Occasionally
never
I get
eaten there
fries or something, but I go to get ice. And they there was because we don't have it on this current menu, but I would show up there and I usually would just be I need 10 bags of ice, and they I feel they look out and they're oh, it's that orange car again. That guy comes here all the time asking for ice. But
They probably have these wild stories about what you do with all of it too.
Sure. I always just tell them, I was it's just for making drinks, whatever. And they're yeah, we don't care. We don't care. But yeah, crushed ice. Like I said, I know you guys know this, but I love crushed ice and tiki drinks. Again, not important. You don't have to have it. You can make a Mai Tai without it, and it's going to be just as good. But I think the crushed ice makes that drink really cold. And
Yeah.
that's the purpose of it.
Yeah. And I feel when you have rum, you need, it doesn't hurt it at all to have it really cold and diluted because of the funky. I just think the coldness makes it, I don't know.
It's refreshing. If you're sitting on a beach, I want super frosted
Yeah.
glass
Yeah.
that and sipping on a really cold drink in the sun or whatever.
And by the way, thank you for bringing a little summer to us on this shitty, snowy, rainy.
Yeah, the
gross-
glassware was a definite bonus.
Oh yeah, cute glassware from the 70s. So tell us your best bar story, Chris.
I was thinking about this. Sometimes it's hard for me to think because I feel like I'm often in the listener. I listen. I guess I don't tell them the crazy stories that I have because they don't need to know that. And as a listener, that's what you're supposed to do, right? As a bartender. So it's the only thing that I think comes to mind that isn't super degrading to me that I would tell it to you.
Fair enough.
Would be like I remember bartending isn't for everyone, right? Service industry isn't for everyone, and I think when you're a patron in a restaurant, and if you've never been in the industry before or know anyone in this, like you just don't know. You don't really know what goes on. Mm-hmm. You're just like that person. It's their job to serve me, right? Mm-hmm. It's just. No one knows what you actually go through. No one knows all the shit we do behind the scenes or the crazy amount of hours that we work or whatever, and the people that we have to deal with every day. I remember, and I don't know his name, and it's not important. So like when Brewdog, I told you, when Brewdog first opened, it was crazy. That first month was just a line of people all the time at a restaurant that could seat 200 people or whatever. Fridays and Saturdays, we had 5 bartenders on the weekends on a nightly basis. We had a bar back. It was busy, and we were always busy. Bar back washed glasses for 8 hours straight. Like, that's all they did. They took the trash out, and they washed glasses for us. That's it. That's how busy we were. And when they first opened, obviously coming from Scotland and being in Canal, no one really knew what to expect, right? Other than it was a big deal. But I remember we first opened. It was, I think it was the very first day, and we were just getting our asses kicked. And none of us were really ready for it. You can only prepare so much, but not really knowing what to expect when those doors opened up, you just didn't know. We just didn't know, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a guy. They did a really cool training, right? We did like 2 weeks of training before we ever opened. And so we learned all kinds of stuff about beer, and we set up the bar, and we did all that stuff, right? We learned the food menu. I remember there was a kid, again, I don't remember his name. I think when they first hired, they hired some experience, some not experience, kind of a mix of all of that. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, I gotta go smoke a cigarette. We were getting our asses kicked. Not a good time to go smoke a cigarette. There was no good time when we first opened. You really couldn't take a ton of breaks. Like, that just wasn't a thing. He's just like, I gotta go smoke a cigarette or something. He just left. And we were just busy. And we worked the rest of the night. Not realizing that guy never came back. He just quit. He actually quit, and none of us knew until the night was over with. And because we were that busy. And we were like, wasn't there someone else working tonight? And he left. He just went to smoke, and he never came back home. Yeah, he never came back to the bar.
Wow.
And I still think, like I said, I don't remember. I can't even tell you what that person looked like. I don't know that person's name. It was just a crazy story, and I was like, that's like, you either know what the industry is or you don't. Mm-hmm. And I think, if I remember correctly, I think he had emailed management and just said he felt that he wasn't trained for that. He didn't know any. He put that on the company. He just wasn't. He didn't know. There's no way you would ever know. And if you were never in the industry working on those nights, it was like a sink or swim sort of thing.
So I have to say, I was a waitress when I was a teenager, but I never bartended or anything like that. But I spend a lot of time in bars, and I do not know how bartenders do it. I remember sitting at the Rossi, and there would be 5 people deep waiting for drinks, and I would curl up in a ball in the corner. Like, there's no way I could do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a different. I mean, it's not for everyone, and I think as I've gotten older, I notice like how much it takes a toll like on your body and doing the things that you do. But I mean, the first bar I worked at in Florida, getting off at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes later. If it was a crazy weekend, you may be 4:30. I'm driving back home across the bridge. Another 20 minutes. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. The sun's rising on the beach, and I just got off work. You know what I mean? And
Wow.
no one really thinks about all of that. They had a really good time, and they passed out. They blacked out at
Right.
2 and they were asleep, and they'll sleep all the morning or whatever. And I'm just getting home like, shit. Like, do I sleep? I'm not even tired anymore because I'm wide awake. I can go run to the bank here in a couple hours. I can go run some errands. Like, it's an interesting life. The service industry is a very interesting life. And those that choose to do it, like myself, you gotta have some respect for all of those people because
Yeah.
it's different.
For sure.
We're the reason you have a good time. Is
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
the way I look at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
and for
how
that,
we see it too.
we thank you. So what's the most annoying thing that patrons do? Like, if you could say, don't do that shit, what would it be?
Oh man.
Don't take 25 minutes to figure out what you want to drink.
No, I don't know that I would comment on it. There's things that we know, there's things that you know, there's things that we see, but nothing is like. There are things that happen every day, right? Every shift, and myself and my coworkers will talk about it right then and there. Like, oh, I can't believe they fucking did that. I can't believe these people. That happens. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, again, people don't know. People don't know. That's the reality of it. People don't know about splitting checks. They don't give a shit. They just assume that you knew what they ordered was going to be on their check. And
Oh, so
they're
that's
10
the
out of
thing.
different-
Tell in
that's-
advance.
It's just anything like that. But again, no one knows. And unless you work in the industry and you see it every day, I'm sure I'm guilty of doing all the things that I would say annoy me before I worked in the industry. So it's just one of those things. It's part of the job.
But that's what we're here for. We're here to educate the public so
Sure,
they
we
can
try
be
to do.
better patrons.
Sure. I don't have any. I can't say. Because at the end of the day, all I care about is that they had a good time. I don't care if they annoyed me or,
Yeah.
as long as they left the bar and they had a really good experience, that's the only thing I care about. If they wanted me to do a bunch of shit I didn't want to do, it's okay. At the end of the day, as long as they left, that's all that matters.
You're the consummate professional. So have you ever had a weird tip, or has anybody written you a note on their receipt?
I've gotten lots of notes throughout, the 5 or 6 years I've doing this that could say anything from "thank you, everything was great" to, like a 0 tip and like "this place sucks" and anything in between there. It's there's good things, there's bad things,
Yeah.
there's note taking your slip. Maybe you don't leave a receipt. Like, again, there's a lot of things that can happen. Tips, whether they're good or bad, it is what it is. I think I've only really gotten one at the Brewdog in the Short North. Was a crazy time when we opened that up, and I think we got, it was a different bar. It's a different bar for that area. We don't have crazy shot. They didn't have crazy shots there and stuff. So, and we didn't have any problem kicking people out when they needed to be kicked out. Sometimes no one likes to be kicked out of a bar. So I remember kicking some people out, and they kindly closed their check. We would have closed it for them anyways. I think they wrote like a really nasty, and that's fine. That's like it is what it is. You write it on, as long as you don't write it on Yelp and be an asshole about it. If you write it on your receipt, that's cool. I'll
true.
just throw it in the trash.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. We met actually one of the people from Brewdogs today for
Yeah.
the first time. He's from Scotland. His name is Keith, right?
Yep.
Super nice guy. Great head of hair.
Sure. Still has a great head of hair.
Still does.
So when I met Keith, he had longer hair. Like
Oh, yeah.
like
He told us
Braveheart,
about
longer
that.
hair.
Yeah.
And everyone thought, all the ladies, everyone loved him. I mean, I loved him too. He legit looked like someone out of Braveheart. And he had the accent. I was like,
Yeah.
God, look at his hair. Flow, like it was long, flowing.
Dark with some red in it.
Yeah, I mean, he legit looked like that.
Yeah,
and when
he-
he cut it off, everyone was like, what the fuck? He still looks like a handsome guy. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yes.
I love Keith.
Yeah.
But Keith with long hair, I think he had to cut it off because he was getting so much attention with his hair.
Well, he told me today, I said, man, you have a really great head of hair. And he said, well, it used to be like all the way down my back to my waist, but I look like an animal. Like, and he's a big guy.
Sure.
It's like I think people were scared of me, so I like cut it off.
People
but-
flocked to him with long hair. He's being very modest about his hair. I think that's the problem. People were literally flocking to him with his long hair.
He's a cool guy. Very
Yep.
cool guy. Chris, could you tell us the hours at Wolf's Ridge and if you have any happy hours?
So we're closed Monday. Don't come on Monday.
Okay.
A lot of people do. I'm usually in there working on something. Someone's coming in if the door's unlocked. We do brunch Saturday, Sunday. We're open from 10 to 3
Okay.
for brunch.
Fantastic brunch, by the way.
Dining room bar will always be open from 10 to midnight. There's a little lull there before dinner service starts at 5 in the dining room.
Okay.
Tap room opens up at noon on the weekends. We close at the same time, both at midnight. Tuesday through Friday, 10:30. Every day is I think it's 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Every other day is 11. Friday and Saturday midnight.
Okay. What about happy hour? Do you have happy hour?
Tap room does their own happy hour. They do some food and beer specials pretty much all the time.
Okay.
Dining room at the bar. You have to sit at the bar. It's very specific
That makes sense.
because I want you to sit at the bar. Yeah. $2 off wine from 3 to 6. And then we do $2 off of our classic cocktails. And this entire menu is classics. So you can get $2 off any of our cocktails right now from 3 to 6.
It sounds like a great deal.
And you're there pretty much all the time.
Yeah, I'm there. So I do Tuesday and Wednesday morning shifts for lunch because I do all the prep and ordering and inventory. I try to do as much prep as I can so that the bar. My biggest goal is that the bartenders are always. It's not that I don't want them or they're not capable of doing a ton of prep. I want them to just come in and be ready to work and be ready to take care of guests.
Sure.
So I try to do the behind the scenes legwork so that they have everything they need for their shift. And then I'm Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. Yep.
Cool. All right, listeners, get to Wolf's Ridge and Chris will make you a fabulous cocktail or pour you a beer, whatever you
Pour you
like.
beer, pour you
They've got
wine,
it
whatever.
all. Christine, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Listeners, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Seabus Craft Cocktail Tour. Visit our website at columbuscraftcocktailtour.com for cocktail tour dates, women and whiskey tastings, special events, merchandise, and if you're looking for a gift for that special person in your life, get them a gift card to our cocktail tour. Thank you to our producer, Greg Hansberry, and to the biographer for our original music. And please remember to drink responsibly and be cocktail curious. Cheers.